Yeah, he's into Tomorrowland now. I remember this movie. The 2015 sci-fi action adventure movie. Of course, starred it was of course directed by Brad Bird. It was his second live action film after Mission Impossible Ghost Protocol. Now I don't know if he's actually directed any other live action things. I don't know what he's actually directed after this movie. I think he actually doesn't work for Disney anymore. I think he does like some projects for like Netflix and such. I don't know. And of course, Walt Disney Pictures presents and an A113 production, which fun fact is actually I believe is actually Brad Bird's production company. Now, A113 is actually a common thing in a lot of Pixar movies. A113, if you don't know what that is, it's actually in reference to a dormitory at Cal Arts where a lot of the Pixar animators actually studied at. There's a lot of Pixar animators were actually Cal Arts graduates in California. In California, you know. And this movie, of course, stars George Clooney. The actress who plays this Casey, I can't think of what her name is. Tim McGraw was actually in this movie, played the dad. Which I was like, wait a minute, Tim McGraw was in this movie? I honestly forgot. I honestly, for a second, thought it was Donnie Wahlberg, Mark Wahlberg's older brother. But I was like, wait a minute, that can't be Donnie Wahlberg. Then, if it's not Donnie Wahlberg, then who the heck? Then who is it? And I was like, wait a minute, Tim McGraw was in this movie? Holy shit! Now this movie also starred it starred a bunch of other people. It starred Hugh Laurie, and that's kind of it. The cast of this movie is pretty small, especially for a big sci-fi movie. There's not really a whole lot of big names besides George Clooney, Hugh Laurie, and Tim McGraw in this movie. Now this movie was, of course, based on the attraction at Disney World and Disneyland. So now this movie is meant by Disney to be like their biggest, to be their next big thing. And Disney actually invested quite a bit of money into this thing. They invested almost like well over $150 million, but the movie only made back $300 million. So unfortunately, it's a massive flop. It was also a massive loss for them. This movie lost Disney a ton of money. It actually was such a flop that Disney actually that not only that Disney abandoned plans to turn this into a franchise. Yes, this was meant by Disney to be a franchise. This was meant to become a franchise for Disney. But it just ultimately never became a franchise. It never became a franchise for them because it was meant to be like Disney's next big thing. But unfortunately, it just didn't become the franchise that Disney was hoping for. Now, this movie had this movie I believe had kind of a troubled production history. It was, I think, kind of passed around to a few different kind of. Now, this is a movie that Brett Bird he viewed this as a passion project to make. Apparently, he actually pitched this to Disney a few times before. I think in the 2000s, but Disney wasn't really into. But Disney wasn't really interested in it, which is strange because it's like their biggest thing at their attraction. So I'm not. Well, I think Disney was worried this movie would just be too expensive. One at a time, Disney had a few kind of sci-fi kind of films that were kind of didn't do too